All right, let's talk about Mama's Creations, ticker MAMA. Because if you follow the market, you probably saw them have one of the most explosive earnings reports we've seen this quarter. The reaction was, well, it was huge. So we're going to deconstruct exactly what happened and what sent this stock flying.
And when I say huge, I'm not kidding. The stock shot up over 24% in one day, a single trading session. You see a move like that, and you just have to ask, what in the world did they say on that earnings call?
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the incredible numbers they just posted, dig into the strategy that's actually driving this growth, and then look ahead to what might be coming next for the company. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first, let's look at the numbers that lit the fuse on this rally. And look, this wasn't just a small beat, this was one of those fundamental upside surprises that makes Wall Street completely rethink a company.
So let's just unpack this for a second. Revenue, it didn't just grow, it absolutely surged 50% year over year to over $47 million. That blew past expectations by almost 9%. But here's the real shocker, the bottom line. Adjusted earnings per share, analysts were actually expecting a loss of a penny per share. Instead, Mama came in and delivered a profit of 3 cents. That's not just a beat, that's a 400% surprise that shows a massive shift in how profitable this company is becoming.
And this number right here, this really tells the story of the quality of that earnings beat. Adjusted EBITDA was up 118%. Now, if you're not familiar, just think of EBITDA as a really clean snapshot of a company's core profitability, right? Before all the accounting noise. So this tells you their growth isn't just empty calories. It's really profitable, high-quality growth. So where did it all come from? So let's get into the drivers here. That 50% jump in sales wasn't an accident. It was the result of this really powerful 1-2 punch that management has been working on for a while. And this is so important to understand. The growth came from 2 engines firing on all cylinders at the same time. On one hand, you had the big acquisition of a company called Crown One, which gave them this huge inorganic boost. But, and this is key, the original legacy Mama's business also grew by double digits. That's your organic growth, and it proves that actual customers are loving their products and demand is super strong. And a huge piece of that organic growth story comes from these massive new distribution wins. I mean, look at this. Getting into nearly 2,000 Target stores, over 1,000 Food Lion locations, that is a game changer for a company this size. It fundamentally expands their national footprint overnight. And then you throw in a national promotion at Costco, well, you can see why the growth engine is humming. But just growing the top line is only half the battle. The market is really rewarding Mama Bismol because they're showing they can scale profitably. And that brings us to the margin story. Check this out. Gross margins expanded by a full percentage point. You'll hear analysts call that 100 basis points. Now, what's so impressive about this is they did it even with headwinds like rising beef prices, and while they were still integrating the Crown One business, which started out with lower margins. This is just a huge sign of excellent operational execution. They're getting more efficient, they're probably getting better prices on supplies. It's just really solid management. And they're not done, not by a long shot. Management was crystal clear on the earnings call. They basically put up a big signpost for investors saying their explicit goal is to pull the margins from that newly acquired business up into the mid-20s% range, and they plan to do it within the next year. Okay, so all of this incredible quarter, it's not just a one-off. It's really a key milestone in a much, much bigger game plan that management has. The CEO, Adam Michaels, kept coming back to this idea on the call. They are not just a meatball company anymore. The big vision here is to become the one-stop shop for major grocery stores. You're a retailer, you need a whole suite of fresh, prepared foods for your deli section, you make one call. You call Mama's. That's the goal. And they've laid out a pretty clear roadmap to get there. First, finish integrating the new acquisition. Step 2, absolutely nail these massive new rollouts with Target and Food Lion. Then, use that new scale to drive even more cost savings. And all of that builds towards the ultimate goal, scaling this platform to chase what they've called a $1 billion revenue ambition. It sounds bold, for sure, but a quarter like this one makes it sound a lot more believable. So that's the story of what just happened. An incredible quarter. But now, for the real question, right? What happens now? After a stock runs up that much, what should you be looking for? So here's our take. This is the question for anyone looking at the stock right now. The market has priced in a ton of good news. You could argue the easy money has been made. The challenge from here on out is flawless execution, day in and day out, to justify these new, much higher expectations.
Okay, so here's the talk tickers call. We're initiating with an outperform rating. The next big thing to watch for, the key catalyst, is going to be the fourth quarter results. That's when we'll see the first real numbers from those Target and Food Lion launches. We expect the stock might tread water for a bit, consolidate around these levels, but if they deliver another great quarter, we could see it push back towards those recent highs. And the biggest risk? It's all about execution. If that margin expansion doesn't keep climbing toward that mid-20s target, the stock will likely pull back.
So the big takeaway is this. The company is in the middle of a huge transformation, from a smaller niche player into a real platform company. This quarter was the moment the market finally woke up to that reality. The next few quarters will tell us if that reality can live up to the dream. This is not financial advice.